I like the slight Dutch angle because it adds suspense. No, it's because I'm too lazy to go over there and fix my phone. But as I'm sitting here training the glamour muscles, aka arms and abs, before I head off to the beach, figured spend some time talk about the science of being fat. As someone who used to be fat, this hits a little close to home, but it's also gives you some interesting insight into how our body chemistry works. And how our brain can dictate a lot of what our body does. Masculine, kicking your feet in the air, laying on your back. Oh, who's gonna carry the boats? No, but seriously, first off, let's take a look at obesity itself. What's interesting is that fewer and fewer people are actually considering themselves obese. And interestingly enough, a lot of that has to do with our understanding of what obesity actually is. You see, a lot of people consider being overweight obese, but it actually has a lot more to do with body fat percentages. Dude, those things are actually hard. And an interesting study of over 3,000 Israeli men and women. The study showed, sorry, I can't think and sit at the same time. That's terrible. The study showed that something like 26.5% of men and almost 40%, that was like 38% of women were within a healthy body weight range, but still obese due to their high body fat percentage, meaning that you could be within a healthy weight, but still be way too fat. And that's not a bad thing. You want to be fat, do you? But it's not good for your organs or your joints or anything else. Another interesting study, which I think I mentioned in another video, talked about NPY production and particular neurons in the brain. Now, NPY is a hormone that stimulates appetite. However, it appears as though there may be a specific group of neurons locked in the brain that not only increase NPY production, but NPY sensitivity in people who are obese. Now, why is this important? Because normally NPY drives appetite in order to prevent you from starving, i.e. in times of caloric deficit. However, even when you're not necessarily in a caloric deficit, you may reset the baseline for your brain as to how many calories you actually need, which is part of the reason why people who are obese always feel hungry, even though they don't technically need the additional calories. It's because their brain is telling them that they're starving, which may also explain why bulking and cutting cycles can be difficult, because you may think that you need additional calories, even though you're at a maintenance stage for the first few weeks after your bulk, until your brain can rewire itself to no longer think that you're dying in some grassland somewhere like your primitive ancestors would have been. It's also notable that a study has shown that even moderate cardio, especially in people of advanced ages, has shown to strengthen neuron connections, meaning people can actually stave off things like Alzheimer's and dementia by increasing the amount of cardio they do, which is kind of weird when you think that Big Lenny seems to be losing his mind, even though he apparently rides his bike absolutely everywhere. Man, it's good for you, but boring as hell unless you do it outside. Wee, look at me. I'm riding an exercise bike nowhere. Wow. Lastly, there are studies that show. Whoa. There's that Dutch angle again. Lastly, studies show that fewer people than ever are actually considering themselves overweight, which is kind of scary when you think that more people than ever are actually overweight. And it's weird because in the bodybuilding and fitness industries, even powerlifting and things like that, so many people talk about science, and yet so many people go off things like anecdotal evidence or just what they perceive to be fact. And while I don't want to overemphasize how important science is, because at the end of the day, lifting's lifting, being healthy is being healthy. There definitely are some things out there that'll mess you up. And some things that won't. As long as you're getting out there and getting healthy, that's all that matters. This is another short video. Hopefully you guys like these shorter ones. I know the long rants that I used to do were kind of popular, but now I'm hard to take in large doses. So hopefully you guys like this more informative stuff. I actually do know what I'm talking about. I'll tell you about my background some other time, but just know I do have like a science background. And for anybody who was wondering how the cut was going, if I held on to any of that mass from the winter, I am about 11 pounds heavier than I was last summer. And I don't think a lot of it's fat, but statistically speaking, I'm probably wrong. Remember, it's not supposed to be easy. That's why it feels so fucking good. And stay freaky.